Have you ever stopped to think about how your daily habits could be changing your brain, sometimes without you even realizing it? Imagine that every time you engage in a seemingly harmless activity, a small part of your brain is slowly shrinking. Sounds scary, right? Well, it's not just a wild theory. There's actual science behind this, and it's something that could drastically impact your mental health, memory, and overall well-being. You see, your brain is constantly evolving, rewiring itself with every thought, every action, and every decision you make. But here's the kicker. Certain habits you've probably been engaging in, without a second thought, may be causing irreversible damage to a crucial part of your brain. The good news? You can reverse this trend if you start paying attention to the signs and make some changes today. In this video, we're going to dive into the fascinating science behind why certain activities, things that may seem completely harmless, are actually causing parts of your brain to shrink slightly over time. You might be surprised by the impact of some of the things you do every day. But here's the thing. Recognizing these habits is the first step toward protecting yourself. Stick around until the end, because you'll learn exactly which part of your brain is at risk, how it affects you, and most importantly, what you can do to stop it from happening. Let's dive into this startling revelation and see what's happening inside your head every time you do it. Let's start by talking about the part of your brain that's most affected by this silent shrinkage. It's called the hippocampus, and it's one of the most critical regions for your memory, learning, and emotional regulation. Think of it as your brain's memory center. Every time you learn something new, it's processed in the hippocampus. It helps you remember the details of your life, from where you left your keys to the faces of the people you care about. It's responsible for making sure you can navigate the world, process new information, and store those memories for the future. The scary part? Every time you do certain things, you're actually shrinking this area of your brain. It's not a dramatic, immediate effect, but it's something that happens over time, slowly chipping away at your cognitive function. Now you might be thinking, how could something so simple, something I do all the time, be affecting my brain? Well, that's what we're going to uncover today. One of the key things to understand about the hippocampus is its ability to adapt and change, a process known as neuroplasticity. Your brain has this incredible capacity to reorganize itself, form new connections, and even build new neurons based on your habits, experiences, and environment. But the problem is that just as your brain can grow and adapt positively, it can also shrink, and certain activities can encourage that shrinkage. When we talk about things that shrink the hippocampus, the list is a bit longer than you might expect. But don't worry, being aware of these activities is the first step toward protecting yourself. And while some habits are unavoidable, like experiencing stress in certain situations, many of these negative influences can be managed or reversed. Now let's dive into stress, one of the most damaging influences on your hippocampus. Research has shown that chronic stress can significantly affect the size of the hippocampus. But it's not just any stress that causes damage, it's the kind of stress that lingers, that keeps your body in a constant state of fight or flight. When you're stressed for a prolonged period, your body releases cortisol, a hormone designed to help you deal with immediate threats. However, when cortisol levels remain high over an extended period, it starts to damage brain cells, particularly in the hippocampus. Think about this. You're constantly juggling deadlines, family issues, and financial worries. Day in and day out, your brain is flooded with cortisol, trying to keep you alert and ready for action. But over time, that constant cortisol release starts to take its toll. The hippocampus, which is supposed to help you process and store memories, starts to shrink. And with it, your ability to retain information, learn new things, and regulate emotions begins to decline. You might feel like you're just forgetful or scatterbrained, but it could actually be the long-term impact of chronic stress on your brain. This isn't just theory, there are actual studies to back this up. One study published in the journal Nature Neuroscience found that people with high levels of chronic stress showed a reduction in hippocampal volume. This is not just an academic observation, it's a real measurable effect that's happening in your brain every time you experience sustained stress. So the next time you feel overwhelmed and stressed, remember that it's not just your mental state that's affected, it's also your brain structure, potentially leading to long-term consequences for your memory and learning ability. But here's the twist. Not all stress is created equal. Short-term stress can actually enhance your brain's ability to function, as it prompts your brain to react quickly and store memories related to that event. For example, if you're in a stressful situation where you need to memorize information quickly, like preparing for a presentation or a test, your brain gets a little boost, helping you to perform under pressure. It's when stress becomes chronic and uncontrollable that the real problems begin. The key to preventing hippocampal shrinkage is finding ways to manage stress effectively, so it doesn't linger and start taking a permanent toll. What can you do to protect yourself from the damaging effects of chronic stress? First, let's talk about stress management techniques that have been proven to help. Mindfulness, for example, is one of the most effective ways to combat stress. Studies have shown that mindfulness meditation can reduce cortisol levels and increase brain plasticity. When you take time each day to practice mindfulness, you're not just improving your mental clarity and focus, you're also giving your hippocampus a fighting chance. Yoga, deep breathing exercises, and even short walks in nature can all have a positive effect on reducing stress and preventing the harmful impact it can have on your brain. Now, stress isn't the only thing that can shrink the hippocampus. Another surprising culprit is lack of sleep. Sleep is one of those things that's often taken for granted until we're deprived of it. But did you know that sleep deprivation can also shrink the hippocampus? Sleep is the time when your brain repairs itself, consolidates memories, and strengthens neural connections. If you're not getting enough quality sleep, your brain doesn't get the chance to reset, and over time this can result in cognitive decline. Just like stress, sleep deprivation doesn't affect you in an instant. It's the repeated pattern of poor sleep that gradually leads to brain shrinkage. In fact, one study showed that sleep-deprived individuals had a significantly smaller hippocampal volume compared to those who got sufficient rest. This is especially concerning because sleep is also essential for managing stress. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're more likely to be stressed, which in turn further harms the hippocampus. It's a vicious cycle that you want to break before it starts impacting your ability to learn, remember, and think clearly. Here's the good news. Sleep hygiene can help. Creating a routine that prioritizes sleep will ensure that your brain has the opportunity to repair itself. That means setting a regular sleep schedule, avoiding screens before bed, and making your sleep environment as comfortable and restful as possible. The more consistent you are with your sleep habits, the better chance you have of protecting your hippocampus and keeping it healthy. But we've only just scratched the surface. In the coming sections, we'll delve into even more habits that might seem harmless, but could be quietly affecting the size of your hippocampus. Whether it's the technology you use, the amount of social interaction you have, or the way you handle emotional challenges, every decision you make has the potential to either shrink or protect this crucial part of your brain. Stay with me, because what comes next will blow your mind. These are habits you might not even realize are harming your brain. But don't worry, there's plenty of time to turn things around. The first step is awareness. Now let's take a deeper look at the hippocampus and explore its connection to your daily life, particularly in relation to memory, learning, and emotional regulation. We've already introduced this key brain structure and its vital role in helping you remember important details, store new information, and even regulate your emotional responses. But there's so much more to it than just memory. The hippocampus is the brain's compass. It helps you understand and make sense of the world around you. When it's damaged or shrinks, even slightly, it can impact your ability to think clearly, recall past events, and deal with daily stressors effectively. Here's something that may surprise you. Your hippocampus is especially vulnerable to shrinkage in response to your lifestyle choices, and it turns out that emotional stress plays a massive role in its decline. Whether you realize it or not, the choices you make every day are either preserving your hippocampus or contributing to its shrinkage. And what's concerning is that you may not even realize the impact until much later down the road. Take a moment to think about it. How many times in a given week do you feel stressed or overwhelmed by something in your life? Whether it's work, family, finances, or any number of challenges, most people experience stress on a daily basis. And while occasional stress is normal, long-term or chronic stress can be catastrophic for your hippocampus. If you're constantly living under pressure, that flood of cortisol is working against you. But here's the kicker. The brain's stress response isn't just a fleeting feeling of anxiety. When you're under stress for extended periods, it leads to what we call neuroinflammation. This is the inflammation of brain cells, which is linked to various mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. In fact, the hippocampus is one of the first brain areas to show the effects of this kind of damage. Over time, it can start to shrink, resulting in memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and an overall decline in cognitive function. Imagine this. Your brain is constantly battling stress, and each time you let that stress go unchecked, it's like putting another small weight on the hippocampus, slowly compressing it. This shrinkage is linked to real physical changes in how you process memories and learn new things. The more the hippocampus shrinks, the harder it becomes for you to recall important details or learn new information. It's like a mental fog that slowly takes over, and before you know it, things you used to remember easily become hard to recall. But that's not all. Another subtle effect of chronic stress is the disruption of your emotional regulation. The hippocampus isn't just responsible for memory, it's also a key player in managing your emotions. When stress continues to wear down the hippocampus, your emotional responses can become exaggerated or harder to control. This is why people who are under prolonged stress tend to feel more anxious, irritable, or depressed. And the vicious cycle continues. As your emotional regulation weakens, the stress becomes even harder to manage, leading to even more damage to the hippocampus. It's like a snowball effect that can escalate over time. So what can you do about it? The first step is to recognize that chronic stress is one of the main culprits behind hippocampal shrinkage. Once you're aware of that, you can take action to protect yourself. This doesn't mean that you can eliminate all stress, but it does mean you can make changes to how you respond to it. Managing stress effectively can have a profound impact on the health of your hippocampus, and can even reverse some of the damage that's been done. Fortunately, there are strategies to reduce stress and protect your brain. One of the most effective ways to counteract stress is through mindfulness meditation. Studies have shown that mindfulness and meditation can lower cortisol levels, reduce neuroinflammation, and increase hippocampal volume. It's like a reset button for your brain, allowing you to break free from the cycle of chronic stress. Even just a few minutes of mindfulness practice every day can have significant benefits. Another powerful tool in managing stress is exercise. Regular physical activity not only reduces cortisol levels, but also stimulates the production of new brain cells, helping to protect and even grow the hippocampus. Exercise increases the blood flow to the brain, delivering the oxygen and nutrients it needs to stay healthy. Whether it's a brisk walk, yoga, swimming, or strength training, moving your body is one of the best things you can do for your brain. But don't overlook the importance of sleep in this equation. Sleep plays a vital role in both stress management and brain health. When you sleep, your brain has the opportunity to clear out toxins and repair itself, including the hippocampus. Chronic sleep deprivation has been shown to shrink the hippocampus and impair memory and emotional regulation. If you want to protect your brain, prioritizing sleep should be at the top of your list. Establishing a consistent sleep routine, limiting screen time before bed, and creating a calming bedtime environment are all ways to improve the quality of your sleep. Now here's something else to consider. Social interaction is another significant factor that can affect the health of your hippocampus. It turns out that social isolation can have a similar impact on the brain as chronic stress. When you're isolated and lonely, the hippocampus can shrink, and cognitive decline can accelerate. On the other hand, maintaining strong social connections has been shown to protect the hippocampus and improve cognitive function. The emotional support you get from friends, family, or community groups plays a crucial role in shielding your brain from the negative effects of stress. If you're feeling isolated, it's essential to reach out to others, whether it's reconnecting with old friends, joining a group or club, or volunteering in your community. Even small social interactions can have a positive impact on brain health. This is a reminder that your relationships and social life matter more than you may realize, not just for your happiness, but for the health of your brain as well. Finally, let's talk about nutrition. What you eat plays a crucial role in brain health, and a poor diet can exacerbate the negative effects of stress. A diet high in processed foods, sugars, and unhealthy fats can contribute to neuroinflammation and accelerate hippocampal shrinkage. On the other hand, a balanced diet rich in antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, and anti-inflammatory foods can help protect the hippocampus and support cognitive function. Foods like blueberries, leafy greens, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish, like salmon, provide the nutrients your brain needs to stay strong and healthy. The bottom line is that you have control over your brain health, and even small changes to how you handle stress, sleep, exercise, and social interactions can make a world of difference. You may not be able to completely eliminate stress from your life, but with the right strategies, you can manage it effectively and prevent it from taking a toll on your hippocampus. Start by taking small steps toward reducing stress, improving your sleep, and nourishing your body and mind with positive habits. Over time, these changes will protect your brain and help keep your hippocampus healthy, strong, and resilient. Now that we understand how stress and sleep can impact the hippocampus, let's look at another factor that's quietly taking a toll on your brain every day. Technology. Yes, that smartphone in your pocket, the computer at your desk, the endless notifications that keep popping up. These seemingly harmless conveniences may be having a profound effect on your brain, especially when it comes to the hippocampus. In fact, studies have shown that excessive screen time and constant digital distractions can negatively impact your memory, focus, and emotional health. And it turns out the damage isn't just temporary, it can lead to actual brain shrinkage over time. We live in an age of constant connection. We're more plugged in than ever before. Our phones are always within arm's reach. We're scrolling through social media, watching videos, checking emails, always bombarded by information. It's easy to think this is just the normal pace of life, but the truth is, our brains weren't designed to handle this level of constant stimulation. When you're constantly multitasking, flipping between apps, and never giving your brain a chance to rest, you're actually forcing your hippocampus to work overtime, and over time, this takes a toll. What does this look like in real life? Well, the more time you spend on your devices, the less time your brain has to focus, rest, and engage in deep thinking. This constant switching between tasks or task switching might feel productive at first, but research shows that it actually reduces your brain's efficiency and weakens your memory. You might find yourself forgetting simple things like where you placed your keys, or forgetting to reply to a message you received just an hour ago. In the short term, it might just feel like a busy lifestyle, but in the long run, the toll on your hippocampus can become noticeable. Think about how often you use your smartphone throughout the day. You may check it first thing in the morning and last thing before bed. The constant exposure to screens, especially in the evening, prevents your brain from winding down properly. It disrupts the circadian rhythm, the internal clock that tells your body when to sleep and when to wake up. This interruption in your sleep cycle not only affects your ability to rest, but also impacts your memory consolidation. This is when the hippocampus gets to work, organizing the information it gathered throughout the day and preparing it for long-term storage. Without sufficient sleep and with constant distractions, this process is hindered, and you miss out on the opportunity to form stronger, clearer memories. But the effects of technology on the hippocampus go beyond just sleep disruption. Studies show that constant digital distractions and multitasking are reducing the depth of our cognitive processing. When you're jumping from one notification to the next, your brain is no longer able to focus on a single task long enough to build a lasting memory. Your hippocampus isn't able to engage deeply with the information, and the result is weak or fragmented memories. This can have a huge impact on your overall ability to learn and retain information. As technology makes our lives more convenient, it's ironically making it harder for us to think deeply, remember clearly, and engage meaningfully with the world around us. But it's not just about cognitive processing and memory loss. The constant presence of technology, especially social media, can also affect your emotional regulation, which, as we discussed earlier, is another function of the hippocampus. If you're constantly being exposed to the highs and lows of social media, whether it's feeling jealous over someone's vacation photos or anxious over a negative comment, this can lead to a cycle of emotional highs and lows that are difficult to break. Over time, these emotional fluctuations take a toll on your hippocampus, weakening its ability to regulate emotions effectively. There's something else you may not have realized: the dopamine loop. Every time you check your phone or engage with social media, your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. This is a natural response that rewards you for finding something interesting or engaging. However, when your brain is constantly seeking that dopamine hit from notifications, likes, and comments, it becomes addicted to this cycle of instant gratification. This constant need for stimulation and reward puts additional stress on your hippocampus, leaving it overworked and vulnerable to shrinkage. But here's the good news. You can break the cycle. While technology itself may not be going away anytime soon, there are practical steps you can take to protect your brain from the harmful effects of constant digital distractions. The first step is to limit screen time. Studies have shown that people who spend long hours on their devices, especially those who use them in the hour before bed, experience more severe cognitive decline and have a smaller hippocampus. By setting boundaries on your screen time, particularly in the evenings, you give your brain the chance to reset and recover. Try setting a tech curfew, where you put your devices down at least an hour before bedtime. This helps prevent the blue light from disrupting your sleep and allows your hippocampus to engage in important memory consolidation. The second step is to practice mindfulness. By engaging in activities like deep breathing, meditation, or even taking a walk outside, you can give your brain the chance to rest and recharge. Mindfulness has been shown to increase the size of the hippocampus, making it more resilient to the effects of digital distractions. It's about slowing down and giving your brain the space to engage deeply with the present moment, instead of jumping from one screen to the next. Regularly practicing mindfulness can help you combat the constant stress of the digital world, ultimately helping protect your hippocampus and keep it healthy. Another strategy to protect your brain from the negative impact of technology is to reduce multitasking. Although it might seem like you're being productive by doing multiple things at once, studies have shown that multitasking actually decreases productivity and harms memory. Focus on one task at a time, whether it's answering emails, reading, or engaging in a conversation. By giving your full attention to one thing, you allow your hippocampus to process that information more efficiently, strengthening your memory and reducing cognitive overload. Lastly, try to engage in non-digital activities. Reading a physical book, cooking a meal from scratch, or enjoying a face-to-face conversation. These are all activities that don't require screens, but engage your brain in ways that technology simply cannot. These activities help strengthen your hippocampus and cognitive abilities by giving you the space to think deeply, process information, engage with the world around you in a meaningful way. In short, while technology is an essential part of our modern lives, it's crucial to recognize its impact on our brains. The constant bombardment of information and the need for digital stimulation can overwhelm our hippocampus, making it harder to focus, remember, and regulate our emotions. By being mindful of your tech habits and taking proactive steps to limit screen time, practice mindfulness, and engage in meaningful, non-digital activities, you can protect your brain from the negative effects of constant digital distractions. The goal is balance, not elimination, and by finding that balance, you'll be helping preserve your hippocampus for years to come. Let's shift gears and talk about something you might not immediately associate with brain shrinkage, but is just as crucial: your diet. What you eat has a significant impact on your brain structure, especially the hippocampus. We all know that a balanced diet is important for our overall health, but when it comes to brain function, the connection is even deeper. Your hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory and learning, can shrink over time if you're not feeding it the right nutrients. This section is about understanding how what you eat can either protect your brain or contribute to its decline. And yes, some of your favorite foods might be to blame. First, let's talk about inflammation, one of the most significant drivers of brain shrinkage. Inflammation is a natural response by the body to protect itself from injury or infection. However, chronic low-grade inflammation, often triggered by poor eating habits, can wreak havoc on the brain. When your body is in a state of constant inflammation, it not only affects your overall health, but it also impacts your brain's ability to function properly. The hippocampus is particularly vulnerable to inflammation, which can shrink its size and hinder its ability to perform vital tasks, like memory retention and emotional regulation. So what causes this inflammation? It often starts with your diet. Highly processed foods, full of sugars, refined carbohydrates, and unhealthy fats, are known to trigger inflammatory responses in the body. Foods high in sugar, in particular, can spike blood glucose levels, leading to oxidative stress and inflammation in the brain. If you're regularly consuming foods that are high in sugar, such as sugary snacks, sodas, and pastries, You're essentially feeding your body and your brain a recipe for decline. And it's not just about the occasional indulgence, it's about the pattern of eating over time that contributes to this inflammation. But there's more to it. Trans fats, found in many processed foods like fast food, baked goods, and margarine, are also linked to inflammation and brain shrinkage. Trans fats can impair brain function, and when consumed in excess, they disrupt the brain's ability to communicate efficiently, leading to memory problems and slower cognitive processing. And if you thought this was only an issue for older adults, think again. Even young people who eat a diet high in trans fats may experience slower processing speeds and difficulty with tasks that require deep concentration. In addition to processed foods, there's also the issue of refined carbohydrates. White bread, pasta, and rice are quickly converted into sugar by the body, causing spikes in blood sugar levels and promoting inflammation. While it may seem harmless to indulge in a piece of white bread or a plate of pasta every now and then, if your diet is consistently high in these foods, it can lead to a chronic inflammatory state. Over time, this can shrink the hippocampus, leading to cognitive decline. But don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. There are plenty of foods that can protect your brain and help reduce inflammation. One of the best ways to protect your hippocampus is to eat anti-inflammatory foods. This includes foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids, such as fatty fish, like salmon, mackerel, and sardines. Omega-3s are known to have powerful anti-inflammatory effects on the brain and can help maintain or even increase hippocampal size. Studies have shown that people who consume higher amounts of omega-3 fatty acids have better cognitive function and a lower risk of brain shrinkage as they age. Another key player in brain health is antioxidants. Foods that are rich in antioxidants help to combat oxidative stress, which can damage brain cells. Berries, especially blueberries, are packed with antioxidants that protect the brain from inflammation and oxidative damage. In fact, studies have shown that people who eat a diet rich in blueberries show improved memory and cognitive function. Other antioxidant-rich foods include dark chocolate, yes, you read that right, spinach, kale, and other leafy greens. These foods don't just keep you healthy overall, they specifically protect your brain from shrinkage and cognitive decline. Nuts and seeds, like almonds, walnuts, and flax seeds, are another excellent source of brain-boosting nutrients. These foods are rich in vitamin E, which has been shown to reduce the risk of cognitive decline and help protect the hippocampus from damage. Walnuts in particular contain high levels of alpha-linolenic acid (ALA), an omega-3 fatty acid that has been linked to improved cognitive function. But it's not just about the food itself. What you drink matters too. Dehydration can have a serious impact on brain health, including memory and cognitive function. Even mild dehydration can impair short-term memory, attention, and mood. So drinking enough water is just as important as eating the right foods. Aim for at least 8 glasses of water a day to keep your brain and body well hydrated. You can also supplement hydration with green tea, which has been shown to contain compounds that protect the brain from inflammation and oxidative stress. While focusing on what you eat is crucial, it's also about what you don't eat. Processed meats, such as sausages, bacon, and deli meats, are high in saturated fats and nitrates, which have been linked to cognitive decline and hippocampal shrinkage. Cutting back on processed meats and replacing them with lean proteins like chicken, turkey, and plant-based proteins can have a positive impact on your brain health. Similarly, excessive alcohol consumption is another major culprit. Drinking alcohol in moderation, if at all, is crucial for protecting your hippocampus. Chronic alcohol abuse has been shown to cause brain shrinkage and cognitive decline, particularly affecting the hippocampus. Now, let's talk about the Mediterranean diet. This diet, which emphasizes whole foods, healthy fats, fruits, vegetables, and lean proteins, has been shown to be one of the best diets for brain health. People who follow a Mediterranean diet tend to have larger hippocampal volumes and experience slower cognitive decline as they age. The combination of anti-inflammatory foods, omega-3s, antioxidants, and healthy fats in this diet helps protect the brain from damage and preserves cognitive function. It's a great example of how food can either contribute to or protect against brain shrinkage. If you're wondering where to start, it's simple. Eat more whole foods. Focus on fresh fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and fatty fish. and cut back on processed foods and sugary snacks. The more you nourish your body with the right nutrients, the better your hippocampus will be able to function. And remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about making healthier choices every day. Small changes in your diet can have a huge impact on your brain health, and those changes will add up over time. In the end, protecting your hippocampus isn't just about avoiding the bad stuff, it's also about actively adding the good stuff into your daily routine. The more you prioritize nutrient-dense foods that support brain health, the more resilient your hippocampus will be. And as you reduce inflammation and provide your brain with the nutrients it needs, you'll not only protect your memory and learning abilities, but you'll also enhance your emotional well-being, helping you manage stress and maintain balance throughout your life. Now that we've talked about stress, sleep, and diet, let's address another significant factor that's slowly affecting your brain without you even realizing it: social isolation. You might not think that loneliness could cause your hippocampus to shrink, but research shows that social isolation and a lack of meaningful social connections can be just as damaging to your brain as other factors we've discussed. In fact, prolonged loneliness can increase the risk of cognitive decline, accelerate brain shrinkage, and significantly impact memory and emotional well-being. The hippocampus is heavily involved in emotional regulation and memory formation, which means that if you're isolated from others, your brain doesn't get the stimulus it needs to stay healthy. When you're socially engaged, whether through conversations, shared activities, or even simple interactions with people around you, your brain is constantly challenged. It's learning, adapting, and reinforcing connections. But when you isolate yourself, these neural pathways aren't activated as often, leading to reduced brain activity, especially in the hippocampus. Essentially, your brain becomes less resilient, making it more vulnerable to decline. So how does this isolation affect the hippocampus? Well, studies have shown that social engagement helps stimulate neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to form new connections and strengthen existing ones. Social interactions provide rich, emotional experiences that are essential for maintaining healthy cognitive function. When you withdraw from these interactions, you're not giving your brain the input it needs to thrive. Loneliness has been linked to increased levels of cortisol, the same stress hormone we've already discussed, and chronic stress contributes directly to the shrinkage of the hippocampus. Even more concerning, social isolation increases your risk of depression, which itself has a direct link to brain shrinkage. In fact, people who are socially isolated are at a higher risk of developing depression, which can exacerbate cognitive decline and even make existing memory problems worse. Depression and loneliness both activate stress responses that impair brain health. As these stress responses become chronic, your hippocampus continues to shrink. Your ability to regulate emotions and remember things diminishes. It's a cycle that's difficult to break without intervention. In today's world, technology has made it easier than ever to stay connected virtually. However, while texting, emailing, or FaceTiming may help us stay in touch, it's not quite the same as face-to-face interactions. Studies suggest that in-person interactions are much more beneficial for the brain. When you have a meaningful conversation with someone in person, your brain is processing more than just words. You're interpreting facial expressions, body language, and the emotions behind the words. This rich sensory input engages your hippocampus and enhances memory, emotional processing, and cognitive function. On the other hand, online communication, while useful, lacks many of these nuanced elements, making it a less effective way to engage your brain. Let's look at a real-world example. Older adults, who live alone or have few social interactions, are at a higher risk for cognitive decline. In one study, researchers found that individuals with stronger social networks had a larger hippocampal volume and showed fewer signs of cognitive decline over time. Meanwhile, people who were more socially isolated had smaller hippocampuses and experienced faster cognitive deterioration. The difference was clear. Social interaction wasn't just improving mood, it was physically affecting the size of the hippocampus, and by extension, their overall brain health. The good news is that it's never too late to start building or strengthening social connections. If you've been feeling disconnected or lonely, there are simple steps you can take to improve your social life and protect your brain. Start by reaching out to friends or family you haven't spoken to in a while. You don't have to dive into deep, lengthy conversations right away. Even small, regular interactions can help stimulate your hippocampus. Consider joining a club or group where you can meet new people with similar interests, whether it's a book club, a fitness class, or a local volunteer organization. The goal isn't just to fill time, it's to engage meaningfully with others and give your hippocampus the stimulation it needs. If you're someone who works from home or tends to stay isolated during the day, try to schedule regular breaks to interact with others, even if it's a quick phone call or a coffee break with a colleague. Consider spending time with pets or animals as well. Studies have shown that spending time with pets can have a positive effect on brain health and can help reduce feelings of loneliness and stress. And if you don't have close family or friends nearby, there are many online communities, discussion groups, and virtual meetups where you can connect with others who share your interests. The key is to make an effort to engage, even if it means stepping out of your comfort zone. One of the most powerful ways to combat loneliness is by giving back. Volunteering or helping others not only boosts your mood and mental health, but also provides an avenue for social interaction and the stimulation your brain needs. When you help others, you not only create meaningful connections but also give your brain a purpose. This sense of purpose has been shown to improve mental health and protect against cognitive decline. If you're worried that social isolation is already affecting you, don't worry. You can start reversing the effects by taking small, consistent actions to reconnect with others. The most important step is to recognize the issue and make social engagement a priority in your life. Whether it's a phone call to a loved one, joining a local group, or volunteering, you're giving your brain the chance to repair itself and rebuild connections. The hippocampus, like the rest of the brain, is highly adaptable and capable of neuroplasticity, which means it can respond positively to the right stimuli. In conclusion, don't underestimate the power of human connection. Your hippocampus relies on social interactions to stay healthy and resilient, and when you isolate yourself, you're depriving your brain of the stimulation it needs to function at its best. Loneliness and social isolation aren't just emotional issues, they're serious threats to your cognitive health. By making social connections a priority, you're not only improving your mood and emotional well-being, but also apoptic your hippocampus from shrinkage. Your brain thrives on relationships, so make sure you're nourishing it with the human connection it needs. Now that we've covered the damaging effects of stress, sleep, diet, technology, and social isolation on the hippocampus, let's turn our attention to another surprising factor that may be contributing to brain shrinkage: lack of physical exercise. While most people associate exercise with physical health, fewer people realize its direct impact on brain function. It turns out that regular physical activity is one of the most powerful ways to protect your hippocampus and keep your brain functioning at its peak. So, what's the connection between exercise and the brain? When you engage in physical activity, your body releases a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. This protein plays a vital role in promoting the growth of new neurons, particularly in the hippocampus. BDNF supports neuroplasticity, which allows your brain to adapt and reorganize itself as you learn new things. Simply put, exercise doesn't just help you build stronger muscles and a healthier heart, it also stimulates brain growth. But here's the interesting part. Even moderate levels of physical activity can have a significant impact on the hippocampus. You don't need to be running marathons or lifting heavy weights to reap the benefits. Regular walks, cycling, swimming, or any form of aerobic exercise can trigger BDNF production and protect the hippocampus from shrinkage. In fact, research has shown that older adults who engage in regular physical activity tend to have larger hippocampal volumes and better cognitive function compared to those who are sedentary. This means that even as you age, maintaining an active lifestyle can help preserve your brain health. The link between physical activity and brain function is particularly important because the hippocampus is highly vulnerable to age-related decline. As we age, the hippocampus naturally shrinks, which is part of the normal aging process. However, a sedentary lifestyle can accelerate this shrinkage, leading to cognitive decline and memory problems. On the other hand, physical exercise helps slow down the aging process in the brain, keeping it sharp and functioning at its best. If you're not already making exercise a regular part of your life, this is the time to start. You may be wondering, how much exercise do I actually need to see these benefits? According to studies, Just 30 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic exercise 3 to 4 times a week can significantly boost brain health. This doesn't have to be complicated. Even a brisk walk around the block or a gentle swim can do wonders for your brain. The key is consistency. Over time, these small bursts of activity add up, helping to maintain hippocampal volume and cognitive function. But the benefits of exercise go beyond just hippocampal health. Physical activity also helps regulate mood, reduce stress, and improve sleep quality, all of which have positive effects on brain health. When you exercise, your brain releases endorphins, which are natural mood elevators. These chemicals help alleviate feelings of anxiety and depression, both of which can negatively affect cognitive function. By maintaining a regular exercise routine, you're not only protecting your hippocampus, but also enhancing your overall well-being. Even strength training, which focuses on building muscle mass, can have a positive effect on brain health. Studies have shown that resistance exercises can improve memory and cognitive function, particularly in older adults. While aerobic exercise is especially beneficial for stimulating BDNF production, strength training helps support overall brain function and enhances neuroplasticity. So if you want to cover all your bases, a combination of aerobic exercise and strength training is ideal. It's also important to note that exercise doesn't just prevent brain shrinkage, it can also reverse some of the damage caused by a sedentary lifestyle. Research has shown that older adults who start exercising later in life can still see significant improvements in their hippocampal volume and memory function. This means that it's never too late to start incorporating exercise into your routine. Whether you're in your 30s or your 70s, physical activity has the power to protect your brain and even restore some of the cognitive function that may have been lost. To summarize, regular physical exercise is one of the most effective ways to protect your hippocampus from shrinkage and cognitive decline. It's not about running marathons or becoming a gym enthusiast. It's about making movement a consistent part of your life. Whether it's a daily walk, a swim, or a few sessions of strength training, the key is to stay active and keep your brain engaged. The benefits of exercise go far beyond just physical health. It's a powerful tool for boosting memory, protecting your brain, and maintaining overall well-being as you age. Finally, let's talk about one of the most overlooked factors affecting your brain: chronic multitasking. In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly juggling multiple tasks, checking emails while on the phone, scrolling through social media while watching TV, and so on. It might feel like you're being productive, but here's the truth. Multitasking can actually be detrimental to your brain, particularly the hippocampus. Multitasking doesn't allow your brain to focus deeply on any single task. Instead, your hippocampus is forced to constantly switch between different tasks, which reduces its efficiency and leads to cognitive fatigue. When this happens repeatedly, it can even contribute to memory problems and slower cognitive processing. Your brain isn't designed to manage multiple complex tasks at once. When you force it to do so, it becomes less effective, and over time it may even lead to a slight shrinkage of the hippocampus. This makes it harder for you to recall important details or stay focused on tasks, especially as you get older. But here's the kicker. Multitasking doesn't just affect your memory, it also impacts your emotional regulation. The hippocampus is responsible for managing emotions, and when you overload your brain with constant switching between tasks, you risk becoming more emotionally reactive. This can lead to feelings of frustration, stress, and even anxiety. Over time, your brain's ability to regulate emotions can become compromised, contributing to overall brain shrinkage. The good news is that you can train your brain to break the multitasking habit. Start by focusing on one task at a time. When you give your brain the opportunity to concentrate fully on a single activity, it has the space to process information more deeply and retain it better. Whether it's working on a project, having a conversation, or simply reading a book, engage fully in the moment. Not only will this help reduce the strain on your hippocampus, but it will also improve your cognitive function in the long run. It's also helpful to take breaks between tasks. Instead of constantly switching back and forth, allow your brain time to reset. Even a short break, just a few minutes to step away from the task at hand, can make a significant difference in how effectively your brain performs. This will give your hippocampus the time it needs to recover and stay strong, helping you process information and manage emotions more effectively. In essence, reducing multitasking is a simple yet powerful way to protect your hippocampus and keep your brain sharp. By focusing on one thing at a time and allowing yourself space to recharge, you're not only improving your memory and cognitive ability, but also safeguarding your emotional well-being. To wrap up, we've explored some of the most significant factors that can contribute to hippocampal shrinkage and the decline in cognitive function. And hopefully, you've come to realize just how crucial it is to take care of this vital part of your brain. From stress, sleep, diet, and technology, to social isolation, physical exercise, and multitasking, each of these elements has the potential to either support or undermine your hippocampus. And while it may sound overwhelming, the good news is that you have control over many of these factors, and with small, consistent changes, you can make a big difference in preserving your memory and cognitive health. Taking care of your brain is not just about avoiding things that shrink it. It's also about actively creating an environment that fosters growth, memory, and resilience. Regular exercise, healthy eating, managing stress, getting enough sleep, reducing screen time, and engaging socially with others are all steps you can take today to protect your hippocampus and improve your overall brain health. Remember, it's never too late to make positive changes, and every small step you take toward better habits can have lasting benefits. So what can you do right now to start protecting your hippocampus? Consider integrating some of the strategies we've discussed. Maybe it's time to cut back on that extra screen time, commit to walking more often, or reconnect with friends and family. Perhaps it's about prioritizing quality sleep or adding more brain-boosting foods to your diet. Whatever it is, the key is to start today, because every choice you make has the potential to protect your brain and keep it functioning at its best. Ultimately, maintaining a healthy hippocampus is about balance. It's about finding ways to reduce stress while staying active, enjoying meaningful social interactions while avoiding isolation, and nourishing your brain with the right foods while giving it the rest it needs. The brain is resilient, and with the right care, it can continue to thrive well into old age. But just like any part of the body, it needs the right environment to stay strong. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember that you can take control. Whether it's taking a break from your phone, going for a walk, eating something nourishing, or calling a friend, every action counts. Protect your hippocampus, and in turn, protect your future. By making conscious choices now, you're setting yourself up for a brighter, sharper tomorrow. Thanks for joining me on this journey to better brain health, and I encourage you to reflect on what changes you can make today to keep your mind sharp for years to come.